Welcome to Management Trainer's webinar, Workplace Violence, Don't Get Caught in the Crossfire. Your speaker for today's program is Robert G. Brody, Esquire. Bob is the founding member of Brody and Associates, LLC, a labor and employment law firm which represents management. Bob has been in private practice for over 25 years. In addition to providing daily counsel to management on labor and employment issues such as the new healthcare legislation, ADA, FMLA, workplace violence, and alternative dispute initiatives, Bob represents employers before federal, state, and local civil rights agencies and in court. Operator assistance is available during the webinar by pressing #. You can send questions at any time using the chat window located to the right of the presentation screen. A question and answer session will follow the presentation. I will now turn the call over to our speaker. Bob, please begin.
Well, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to spend about the next hour and a half talking about workplace violence. First thing I would say is congratulations to you. Probably the most important thing about workplace violence is for people to realize it can happen. A lot of companies say something which is statistically true. It isn't going to happen to you. You look at the statistics, it's probably not going to happen to you. The problem with that rationale is if it does, not only does it change someone's life, especially if obviously if someone is murdered, but even if they're not, we've worked with companies that still talk about the fact that 20 years ago, everyone came in on Monday morning and they noticed blood. And somebody was missing who had worked over the weekend. And to this day, they've never found her. And our clients talk about that, and their employees talk about it, and it puts a pall over the entire organization. So my congratulations is recognizing that it's something you need to focus on. You need to tell your employee, your boss, if you have one, that you deserve the pat on the back. And if you are the boss, then you have to give it to yourself. But it's an important issue to recognize. A lot of what we're going to talk about today, frankly, is not that complicated. If you stop and think about it, it makes sense. We're going to talk about a few things, frankly, that are really tough. You're going to make judgment calls, and they're tough. But if you think about it, most of this issue really can be addressed, and you can minimize it. Can you prevent it? Of course not. But you'll be a lot better off than some of the cases we're going to talk about, where the employer obviously had no thought in advance, and a workplace violence situation erupted, and they did exactly the wrong thing. And sitting here quietly today, you're all going to agree with me. You're going to say, what an idiot. How could anyone have done that? But somebody did. And so the good thing for us is you guys are thinking about it. You guys are going to make sure you avoid it. All right. We are going to have questions at the end. I will also be using a chat window. You've heard about that on the side of your screen. If I can, I will answer your chats as we go. If not, we'll do it at the end with the questions that come in over the phone. All right. Unfortunately, if you look at this next slide, it can happen to you. I mean, I don't think there's anybody around this country who hasn't heard about this stuff. You know, the shooting at the movie theater. Back here, the Empire State Building on the East Coast. And then another East Coast one at Pathmark. The only reason we focus on it is, as I said, the statistics are true. Odds are it won't happen. But on the other hand, it happens regularly. And mass shootings, unfortunately, are still a reality of the present. So this is the kind of thing you've got to talk about. In Connecticut, I know we've talked extensively a few years ago when there was a shooting at the Connecticut Lottery office. I know around the country, as we've worked with our clients, you will hear, and for years it will resonate, there was a workplace violence incident. So in case you're trying to get someone at your business to pay attention to this issue, you can go on the internet. If these examples aren't good enough, you can probably find ones in your own town where someone has gotten hurt. And probably the most compelling part is what's harder to find, which is there are so many incidents that aren't reported. OSHA doesn't even get the reports of all the workplace violence incidents that have happened. So it's really prevalent. All right. Murder at work. If you look at the statistics, I mean, this actually looks good. You know, 94,000, jump up 11 years later, and now we're in the mid 500s ish. And that's where it's been stabilized for about the last 5-6 years. We don't have the most recent statistics. While it is a dramatically better number, it still basically comes down to up to 10 a week. A lot. It comes up as one of the highest causes of death of women in their 20s. So for a group of people who generally don't die, unfortunately, workplace violence is a real problem. And that's why it's gotten some publicity.